What's up? What's up? What's up, people? How y'all doing tonight? I hope everything is going gravy for you. Gravy, good and gravy. That's right. I hope everything is going well. And tonight we have an amazing show lined up for you. As you know, my name is Dwayne-Ross, the coach, Coach Dwayne-Ross, right? I help you coach in the area of self-publishing and helping you discover your tag. I'm the author of the book, No More Crumbs from the Table, celebrating you discovering your TAG, your talent, your ability, and your gift, and putting it to work in the earth. And I've been, this last week has been an amazing week. I hope it's been great for you wherever you are with you and your family. I've had some interesting conversations with some very interesting people. And I just want to remind you that we have a book coming out, Desiree Morgan and Mr. Michael Cleo's Chin coming out soon. You're going to start seeing some information regarding their book signing and their book launch, right? We're doing a virtual book launch is coming through, and that's happening on the 21st, but you'll start seeing it next Sunday on the 14th, and then you'll see a number of different times that we'll be talking about them and talking about her abuse situation with her client, this person that she created called Destiny, right? Destiny actually lives in the life of another person, and we're going to be sharing that story of overcoming abuse and how she was able to take that story and turn it into almost not born. So I just want to get you guys set up for that. I hope you're ready for that. That's coming. We'll be starting, their book launch will be on the 21st. You are invited. All you got to do is put a comment in the comment section and let me know so that I can send you the link when we get ready to do that. And I'm excited about that today. Good evening, Tracy. Tracy Gadden, she is a hardcore supporter. I appreciate you. All right. And so tonight, if you see that, I have this book above my head to the right, to the left, depending on how you're looking at it. But I have a guest that I'm going to be sharing some information with you about because we're going to talk about a subject that is just it's phenomenal when you look at what it actually is because it actually has roots all the way back into the beginnings of slavery, right? And in the DC area, there's been a couple of studies in reference to this idea of trafficking. So I have someone who's going to come tonight. She's going to share some information. She's going to drop some golden, platinum, diamonds. She's going to drop some knowledge on you. She's going to drop some platinum nuggets, as you know, I say. And, I can't wait to have her on. So I just want to say sit back, buckle up your seatbelt, get ready because you're going to hear about this book that came out called No More Games. And when she shares this information, she's going to share it from a place of surviving. All right. And I'm going to tell you more about that in a moment. But let's get ready to get this party started. So hang on now. I want to show you something real quick. I'm going to share this video. Okay. Watch out for that. Here you go.
Sometimes people ask, what is sex trafficking? We think overseas, but child sex trafficking actually happens right here in the United States. It means forced prostitution. At the age of 13, I met a man that was 15 years older than me. I didn't know what a pimp was. I didn't know what trafficking was. I just knew someone was being nice to me. And so he lured me, meaning that I got mad at my parents when I was upset on my 14th birthday because I couldn't stay out past 10 o'clock. And I called him, and he told me to pick me up in 15 minutes and bring nothing. So I did, because in my mind I thought I was actually going home. But instead, he took me to Cleveland, Ohio, and promised me that I would be able to call my parents. But there were no phones in the house. But there were 4 girls who were all under the age of 16 as well. And that became my seasoning process. The seasoning process is rape. When they have 2 men come in and rape you. And my story is our survivor stories today because it happens the same exact way. where an adult person manipulates a child. It can even be a family member that brings them into forced prostitution. Over 200,000 U.S. citizen children are trafficked inside the United States each year. That's the very reason why I started Courtney's House. We have a street outreach program that we go out on the street in high trafficking control areas from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. If someone would have offered services and told me it wasn't my fault and that I was the victim in this, I would have ran to them.
You're on mute.
I got so excited. I got so excited. I muted myself. I had to mute myself. There's the Miss Sariah Hastings. You
Yes.
are in the house.
Hi.
No more games.
Yes,
And
come
that's a
on now.
heavy topic that we're going to be talking about. But at the same time, you was one of those people that found some light and you
Yes.
were able to get to the other side of that tunnel.
Yes,
And
amen.
as was shared in that quick intro video regarding how young ladies can get seasoned at an early age. And we're going to talk about your experience, your journey, and of course, your book. I want to invite you guys to the comments. There is an area for you to make comments. Hey, Denane, hey, Tracy. So if you have a comment, just go ahead and put that in. Also on Facebook, go ahead and put your comments there because that'll come up in the stream and it'll come up again as we go forth. And if you need to send people over to uh, YouTube, do that as well. But we're going to talk about trafficking
Yes.
and your experience. Tell us about who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
That's a that's a big that's a big question. Who am I? I am a daughter of the Most High. I'm Sariah Lanae Hastings. I am no longer a survivor. I'm an overcomer. There's a big difference from a survivor and an overcomer. I was a survivor because I survived that lifestyle and coming to know Jesus Christ. I've now become an overcomer and being able to take back my life and walk by faith and not by sight and seeing God move. So that's who I am. I work with women. I try to shed light on a dark subject that a lot of people don't want to talk about. That a lot of people want to pretend like it's not happening, like it's not going on. Just like a lot of people don't want to deal with drug addictions and other things that are not what is cookie cutter looking like society. We are the black sheep people. We are the second class citizen people that they don't want to look at. So I come to people's faces and say, I'm here. You cannot get rid of us, but you can save us. You can help us out if you want us not to be around. So I work with different women, helping them get out of human trafficking. I am starting up a nonprofit organization. That is my little hint drop for my podcast listeners. I'm starting my nonprofit organization to go out and help homeless people and women and children who are being trafficked because I was homeless. A lot of people don't talk about it. I watched the intro, and what a lot of people don't talk about is that some women are homeless and being human trafficked.
Well, that's one of the beginnings, right? Because
Uh,
homelessness is you need some assistance, you need help, right?
yes.
Just like you heard in the intro, the young lady said, she was upset with her mom or her parent, and then somebody, was able to take advantage of that. And so there's all kind of reasons, but you had, this experience where you you were put in you were in this trafficking situation. You
Mhm.
was situation.
It's
Trafficking
it's
became, yeah.
okay.
I've been working on
It
that
is a
word. I've been
situation.
working, yeah, yeah.
It is a
You know, cause
situation.
cause there, people say that. I was like, it was something. They try to put words to it and try to get it. But you were in a place where you were out of control and somebody else was controlling how your everyday moves were made within this structure or this framework of trafficking. Tell us the difference, because some people, when they hear trafficking, they only hear sex trafficking. And during our conversation before we came on the air in the green room, we were talking about there is a distinction. So, talk about the distinctions and where does this whole idea of moving people without their consent starts to happen?
So human trafficking is a umbrella. That's like the main, most political uh, people say human trafficking. I am not political, so you're not going to hear a lot of political words from me. But in those categories, as I come to find out when I found out that I was a survivor of human trafficking, is that there's sex trafficking, there's labor trafficking, and there's child trafficking. So there's three major different sectors in this hub of human trafficking that you deal with. So for me, my story is different like every other survivor and that comes out of it is that I was around it all my life basically. I am 35 and for almost 20 years I was involved in it, so that lets you know my basically my whole entire life. So when I started my journey into, I call the game, it was because I had already been uh, dealt with by my family members. You know, my family is the reason why I went into that lifestyle. My family told me that I was basically not good enough only to be that. I had people calling me fat. I had people calling me cow. You have a boyfriend? Is that your imagination? Who would want to date with you? If you want to be married, you're going to have to be in a pimp and hoe relationship. You're only good to lay on your back. Those are the things that my family is telling me all my life. They were ashamed of me. They didn't want me around. I was raped at 12, like she talked about. That was initiated, but I was raped when I was 12 by many men. So there's so many aspects in my life that I was looking for love. And I tell this to a lot of people. At the end of the day, you are you fall into this lifestyle, whether it's human trafficking or domestic violence relationship, because really honestly, those two go hand in hand. The only difference is on domestic violence, the woman's not being is not being sold.
Hmm.
But both, I was beaten by many of my pimps. I didn't just have one particular pimp. I lived in 33 different states. That lets you know that I had multiple pimps. I had multiple pimps at one time. So to understand that there's this kind of effect of you you have to be molded in a certain way and do certain things is it gets broken when I was a child. The wanting to be loved, the insecurities that people have, whether it's a man, a child, or a woman, the insecurities that they get fed as a child by their family, their parents, their closest members, can either break or make a child. And so when you look at this 35 woman right here who was supposed to be dead at the age of 5 because I've had multiple seizures in my brain when I was born, and the doctor said I couldn't live past the age of 5. And to sit here and tell you some of the horrific things that I've seen in my life, and to hear people tell me, oh, you're lying. Because when women speak up, because we lost our voice in going through this lifestyle that we've had to be told what to wear, how to walk, when to sleep, when not to sleep, when to take a shower, when to eat, when to go to the bathroom, who to look at, how to look at someone. And when you sit there and you deal with someone and we try to say, the woman said that she goes out, and if she knew that someone she was a victim and would have got help. Not only that, but when you do call out and say I need help, then I have people that look at me and say you're lying. We don't believe you. That doesn't happen here. You're not from United States. When I have to tell people I am from United States, I am a United States citizen, and it does happen here. I deal with it every single day. It breaks my heart, because then who do I go to? What hope do we have to say to someone, you know what, you can get out? There is a way to get out. But when people are sitting there talking about, no, that's not happening, that doesn't happen. Oh, even when people have read my book, and I've written my book in a way where it brings awareness on how to uh, catch the different signals of people, of when, what to look for. And I've had people tell me, oh, you didn't choose this lifestyle, it's not a choice, you actually are forced into it. I didn't know that one day, when I'm a child and I wake up and I said, you know what, I want a gun to wake up to. I want to be beaten when I get older. I want to be raped. I want to be belittled and degraded when I get older.
Yeah,
I want that.
yeah, I got to slow you down on a couple of things because no, I hear you,
Sorry, I just
Soraya. No, no, we talked about this too. You got to go deep, and sometimes it takes you to a certain space. And Miss Gladys was saying this is very true and relative, right? And it's relative to a lot of communities, like the DC community, 3,648 was the statistic recently, right?
yeah,
Messed up that
because
word too,
that's one
right?
of the
Because
number
there's
one
one of the
hotspots.
places, right? Because see,
That's the
here's the
hotspot.
thing: Baltimore is actually the flaming spot that brings them to DC. There was a Fox 5 report that actually says that they come from Baltimore to DC because they get them from these marginalized communities. And so when they get them from the marginalized communities, some of the entry is just what you said. Hey, you don't look well. Hey, I got you, girl. You need some clothes. I got you, girl. Or whatever it may be. Like the young lady says, she wakes up and she's in a whole nother place. Right now, the top states for this, and you said you've been in 33 states. I
Hmm.
want you to kind of slow down, and talk about that because here you are looking for help, or maybe you got solely indoctrinated into the lifestyle because there is a such thing as the syndrome that happens where you become like, you start becoming like whatever that is called the Stockholm syndrome, where you start seeing this as normal, right? But California, one of the largest states, Texas, one of the largest states, Florida, one of the largest migration states. Ohio, I don't know about Ohio. Why do people want to go there? But
Oh,
then New York, right? Because you don't hear. But Ohio also has the rivers, and it can get to a lot of different places. And also,
yep.
so you got all this happening. Here you are, a young lady, 15 years old, because if you do the math, 15 minus 35, right? 20 minus 35, you're 15 years old. You're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're hearing what they're calling you, you're hearing what's happening. You said the people that you're supposed to love, they're supposed to love you the most, here they are putting this thought in your heart, soul, spirit, mind, however you decide for that. And then also you got this idea that now as a child, do I want to wake up to a gun in my face? Do I want to wake up to more than one male? Which is so interesting to me that I heard the statistic is 2 to 3 men at a time to break you into this whole thing. You became a prostitute as a result. So talk to us about the transition from where you were when you entered in to where you had to be as they groomed you in where you were?
So when in my teenage years, I wouldn't say I was officially a prostitute. I was just basically, uh, and I said this in another interview. I was just basically the girl that everybody knew that I was the hoe. I was the just the girl that everybody could. I was loose. I was that's what I was, and that was my grooming. Was okay. How many men can Sariah sleep with after school? And what is she good for? What can she give us that we can use? When I became homeless at 18 and I got introduced to a party, and I that's where my book takes off and explain. That's when I had three men rape me, and one of them said, "I choose you."
Mm.
And when he
Hold on, hold
said,
on. That is heavy right there. I choose you. Talk. I mean, take us a little deeper than that, because I mean, three men they rape you, which means they take your sexuality through force, and then one says, "I choose you." What's going on, Soraya?
um, mm.
I know.
You saw I was trying to
I
slide
hear. I
past
told
that.
you. Hey,
I was
listen.
trying to slide past
We
that.
here. You can't slide past it. You gotta go in. You gotta go in. Let's
um,
go. I'm with you though. I got you.
okay.
And I'll tell you this, Miss Cherry right here. Truly understand where you're coming from, right?
Amen.
And
Uh,
you know, you got people here listening to you.
amen.
Talk to us.
So I was 18 and I wanted to go home. I didn't want to live on the streets no more. And I called my family and I asked my family if I could come home. And they said no. And when they said no, that's when I realized I can't keep living this, I can't try to keep on figuring out a way to find a place to live and living on couches and trying to stay in hotels. And so this girl came and she told me about a party, and I went to this party. And when I walked in that apartment, I'll never forget there was men that I knew that had knew me for years, and I saw money being passed, and it wasn't no little money, like a couple, $20, like, hey bro, can I get a 10 from you? No, these were $100 bills being passed back and forth, half
Okay.
women naked, and the women are getting money,
Hmm.
and the regretful words that I said that those men heard me say to that girl that brought me there was, how can I get that? How can I get that? I need that. And somebody heard and they said, you want that? And because of being 18, naive, desperate, not knowing who I am, already have low self-esteem, I said yes. And at the end of the day, they took me and they gave me some Hennessy, they gave me weed and ecstasy, and took me into that room, and I had got raped. And when I was done and the man got up and he said, I'm going to choose you, I didn't know what to do because there was no way of getting out now. So I had to just sit there and take it and just say, okay. I tried to stand up, and he took it as if I was coming against him, and he swung and I got thrown back, and he says, you need to get ready. And I said, okay. And that's how my life took off. And when it went that way, I knew that I no longer how to voice. And that's the one key thing in this type of lifestyle. Women, children, even men, we all lose our voice. This person dictates to us how to live. And that man that took me, he brought me into that house and he said to me, he said, you could go in my room, lay in my bed, but you cannot use the bathroom. You can't take a shower. You can't eat. Do not leave this house. Don't come out of this room or I will kill you. And I literally had to hold, there was days that I had to hold going to the bathroom for hours because I couldn't flush the toilet. And he would check and he would come in and he would hit me and he would say, "Wake up, it's time to get up." I couldn't take a shower if I didn't come back with the quota. He would set a certain amount of money. If I didn't come back with that, I wouldn't be able to take a shower. So all the men that I slept with, it would be on my body until I'm able to make the quota. There were days, weeks that I went without showering because I couldn't make it. But it's life. That's how most people don't realize that's life. But everybody says, "Oh, you're lying. That can't happen." This is United States.
Hmm.
There, no, this can't happen. And that's why I put in my book, we say we are a free country, but yet we have modern day slavery.
Yeah, say that again.
We say that this is a free country, but we have modern day slavery because there's so many people, so many women who are going through this.
Yeah, the
And they,
National Congress of American Indians actually say that 40% of the missing women that are from these indigenous and tribes and things are also part of this big number. And you gave me a statistic. Why don't you talk to us about that number? Because people, again, your story is your story, right? And this is all about people writing their story and taking ownership of their story and how their story can actually liberate others. And this is non-fiction, right? This is transformational non-fiction, where you take a story about your own personal life, you open your heart, you open yourself up to whatever criticism and whatever, because people said to you, "Oh, that's not true." People say, "Oh, you can't be going through that. Oh, it's no big deal." And here you are living it. And what you said that's life, right? But you had this moment where you sanctioned that life, where you said, "How can I get that?"
yeah,
Right? It's almost like the young man who, he's looking for some kind of way to have a better lifestyle, and somebody says, "Here's the gun." They put it in his hand and say, "All you gotta do is walk over to that car, just shoot about 20 times and walk away." That's all I
yep,
gotta do. That's all you gotta do. Don't worry about if you hit anything or nothing. Just shoot up that
yep,
car and walk away. And the young man that I had in Cheltenham jail, because I used to do some work in the jail system, and he murdered his first person just that way. His cousin wanted to murder the guy, but he was over 21. He was 14. So he said, okay. So him and his dad, they put the gun in his hand under a jacket and said, walk across the street. He's standing right there in front of the store.
yep,
Just shoot him with this right here and walk away.
yep,
And that's what he did. And he did 9 years, right? But 9 years, the first four were in juvenile hall. So he only did
yep,
5 in the regular penitentiary. So, I mean, it was crazy. But you said, here's this man traumatized you, tells you you can't even use the restroom. I'm going to check. Allows you to even have other men on you. When I think about that, because we're all adults, and most of us, and hopefully, adults. If your children is listening, you're paying attention to that, or you're educating them about this topic right here. But when you sleep with someone and you have this relationship with sexual, there is bodily fluids and stuff that pass on, and so to think that you had to continue to walk around existing in a 24-hour clock without the ability to wash, and then some other man coming in and don't care to even make sure you're okay because his only endeavor was his own need being met. that's got to be traumatizing in itself for your mind. Can you take us into how you were as a woman be able to get strong because you were able to come out of this, and you said you're an
Mm,
overcomer, not a survivor, but you had to survive
amen.
first. You had to
Yeah.
survive first. Tell us about some of the things that you did personally to deal with the mental stress that you were under in reference to this particular way of living.
So before I came to know who Jesus Christ was, the way that I would deal with my issues was use drugs. I was a very heavy into crystal meth, and that's how I escaped because in the process of this, I had a child. And when I had my son, and I write this in my book, because I want people to understand I needed to let people know the pain that I went through because I was never able to speak about my pain. But I had to let people know that I walked out of my son's life when he was 2, gave him a hug, told him I love him, and I walked out of his life because I was looking for love. I was looking for someone to want me, to love me, care for me. So I left my son and I never went back because my pimp told me, if you come with me, which was his dad, if you come with me, we'll be a family. I'm going to marry you. And because of the fact that all my life, my family said I was never going to be good enough to be married, to have a husband, I would only be good to lay on my back. A 21-year-old, 22-year-old girl don't want to hear that. So I went into a deep spiral because I lost everything. I walked away from my son for a man that left me a couple months later. So at the end of the day, I said at the end, I got pregnant again 9 years later. So that 9 years of prostitution, running around the United States trying to change my life because if you go to another state, oh, nobody knows me, I can change, not realizing that my baggage, what I got, my emotions and stuff, I wear on my sleeve and everybody knows, and I talk to people about, oh, and I wanted this, and you tell all your business in the world, and then you get used and abused once again. And so it wasn't until I came to know who Jesus Christ that I learned who truly loves me and that I don't have to live that lifestyle because it is a game.
You
It
know,
they
that's a powerful statement, and of course, we're living in a nation that has multiple beliefs and things of this nature. And I understand, that was your entry because I mean, you're an associate now. You have your associates. You're going to Bible theology school, and you're in that, in that area. What would you say to people, or have you even talked to people who don't have Christian faith? They don't have a Bible. They don't believe in Jesus, but they have Allah and other religions. Because we live in a place here in America where it's religious freedom, right? Where people have they can love and believe in whatever they want. Talk to us about that aspect because that's what you said helped you get out, right? You learned that there was a love that was bigger than man's love, and then universally you had to tap into that, and because you were still dealing with the scars from the comments from when you were 15. Here you are 21 now, married to this or with this guy who could be your husband because you now said he said, "Hey, I'll marry you." He gave you those promises that because of course I'm sure he had conversation with you to know what what it was the right thing to say to you. So, talk to us about what how do you handle in the work that you do with your book the people who don't have that belief but still have the pain and still have the suffering and still see these things. What are you
yeah.
saying to them?
So most people, I was not a believer when I was in the world. I was looking for somebody, something. Most people do. Well, even when you go through AA and NAs, I did those programs as well because the first thing they say is to find a higher power, and they go through all these things. The problem that I have with different religions and different beliefs is that there's no actual tangible truth, beliefs, realness. See, Jesus, you can tell he's real because he's not dead. He's alive. And I can say that for myself because I'm supposed to be dead. I'm not supposed to be here right now. So for God to allow me to live, I know that I didn't try all the other God. I didn't try all those. I didn't went to different religions and try to see. But the problem is they're an idol. There are things that are tangible, it's you hold it in your hand, and it's a carved image. Jesus Christ is not no carved image. He's a man. And that's where I learned. He says in his word that he is not a man to lie, and he don't lie. In Isaiah 55:11, it says that what comes forth from his mouth will not come back void. What he says is going to happen happens. We live in a time of a world that we're seeing things that don't make sense. But if you read the Bible, things line up with what the word of God says. So there's a lot of things that I tell people. Yes, those are your beliefs, but like I tell any woman, give Jesus a try. What's the worst that's going to happen? Your life might change for the better? Because that's the option I give women. When I work with women, I tell them I have a solution, and that's Jesus Christ. Now you could give them a try, because at the end of the day, if you don't, then nothing's going to change. If nothing happens, then okay, what? And that's what I told the woman when I came to New England. I was pregnant. I was done. I sat in her office. I had abortion money. I wanted to abort my child and the reason why, and I talked to women about abortions and all this stuff. Why I wanted to abort my child? Because I had a son that I walked away with, and I couldn't deal with that emotion if I was having a child. I didn't want a daughter because I had been molested, and I had been sexually abused all my life from the age of 2 to the time of age of 16 from family members. I was sleeping with family members all my life. So I didn't want my daughter to go through. So I didn't want to have my child. And the woman who sat in the room with me looked at me and said, I know somebody who can help you. His name is Jesus Christ. And I said, I've tried everything else. Okay, I'll give him a try. See, what people don't understand, and everybody can have their own religion. I don't knock that. It is true. Yes, everybody has the right to believe in whatever they want to believe. But at the end of the day, why not give Jesus a try? What's wrong with giving him a try? It's like for me, I didn't been with all kinds of men. I didn't give every man in the world a try. I didn't give this whole world a try. I didn't went to program after program. I didn't did all the stuff, the halfway houses, all them different type of things, the recovery homes. I did all them things, and at the end of the day, I still ended up the same way, laying on my back. I moved from one side of the country to another side, and the woman, I had to go get tested and stuff to make sure I was clean. And that woman said, how many have you had sex with? And I looked at her and I said, in the last 3 weeks, I've had over 3,000 men. And that was no lie, that I slept with. And 95% of them were unprotected. And by the grace of God, because of Jesus Christ giving me a second, accepting me and covering me and giving me grace and mercy and his love, I'm a woman that's 35 years old and does not have no transmitted disease. I do not have AIDS. My child that was born is not addicted to drugs. And I did drugs while I was pregnant with him. And that is by the grace of God. So, yes, people can have all the religions. I understand. I understand. But at the end of the day, Jesus Christ is a man who will show you. He says in Psalms that says, taste and see that I'm good. Taste him. What's wrong? And a lot of people, they get all these different viewpoints. They hear all these things. They then gone in their life. They've had bad experiences. Most people that I work with have had bad experiences with churches and with pastors, and they've all done different type of things and stuff. At the end of the day, we are all sinners. The church, the church itself is not perfect because we all are sinners. But we are perfect because we are under Christ. We have the blood of Jesus Christ. So when people look at our faults, they're not looking in it through Jesus' eyes, because he sat with the sinners. He sat with the Rahabs and the Mary Magdalenes and the woman that had, and that's what my book is based off, the woman that was caught in adultery, and they took her, and all the people wanted to have her killed because she was caught in adultery. I was caught in my sin. I was caught in my sin all the time. And they want to put me out there. See, look at her. Look, see, she a hoe. She a prostitute. She this, she that. Jesus Christ said, he who has no sin cast the first stone. No one could cast a stone because they've all sinned. And he looked at her just as he looked at me, and he said, go and sin no more.
And that's how
And
you got out.
that's how I got out.
Okay.
And that's how I've been out, because this is the thing. A lot some survivors, what they don't tell after the fact of getting out, some survivors fall back into that lifestyle.
Hmm. It's like drug
Because,
addicts, and then they have a major
well, not
overdose
even just
because
because of drug
you
addicts.
know.
You have to understand, I was making $1 million. I made one pimp, I made him almost $5 million in a matter of 5 years, and gave him a house. And I was paying for that. On top of giving him money. This is the most lucrative business you're talking about. Women have money, comes and goes. To me, money ain't nothing.
Hmm.
Money ain't nothing. I used to make thousands. I remember one time I made $9,000 in less than 8 hours. That's somebody's salary that's struggling in poverty right now. You're talking when you so when this is going on, then you, at the end of the day, it's like, well, okay, what's next? And these women, when they deal with that and they come into a real job, and they look at their paycheck. I remember the first time I had a real job in a long time, and I looked at my paycheck, and I think it was like, for 40 hours, I think it was like 500 or 600 bucks for 40 hours, for a week. And I was like,
you, you said, wait a minute, this ain't lining
I
up.
calculated, and I was like, I
These
was like
dollars
five,
ain't quite.
because
So talk to us about this idea, because not only did you have the experience with Jesus in the church, but what other support systems did you have in place, or communities? This comes from one smile to a door. In addition to religious community, where is your circle of support? Where did you find support?
so the woman that introduced me to Jesus Christ, uh, she told me, she goes, I don't have any money, but I can help you get into, I can pray with you, and we can figure out a place to put you. Because I looked at her after she told me that I was having a boy, and I told her, okay, I'll keep him. Now what? Because I was homeless. I said, so now what? I'm homeless and I'm pregnant and I have no money. So she told me about a program called New Life Home for Women and Children. And when I called, I had an interview, and the program's a 2-year program. and it's a faith-based. And she told me it's a faith-based program, and I said, "Hey, I don't care. Let's. I need help." And so I went through the program, and it was a 2-year program. I graduated the program, and when I graduated, that's when I went to college. So my support system started with that. I had staff members and pastors that surrounded me, and then from there, when I went into Bible college, then I had got into a church. And like most, what what people don't understand is you got to get grounded in a church, because once you get grounded in a church, then you're accountable to a pastor. And see, some survivors, some people don't want to be accountable to a man, to a pastor and stuff like that as a survivor, because they come out of that lifestyle, and there's men that's constantly at them, so they don't want to be accountable. They don't, why do I have to tell her I'm a grown woman, I'm this, I'm that? Whoa, wait a minute. You don't know nothing about life because you
Well,
come out of a
I
different.
want to slow you down on that because the other side of that is, and I always like to bring this other side because sometimes people have had that experience, and it's been the church, it's been the pastor, it's been the deacon. I mean, we know that right now we have a whole bunch of men who are struggling with homosexuality as a result of the priest, right?
Mhm.
So not
Hold
to
on, but
say
wait a minute,
that
I'm
they
gonna
didn't
stop.
have.
Hold on, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Mhm.
But you heard what I said. We are all sinners.
Got it. My
So
point is, My
go
point, I'm
ahead.
not trying to refute
No,
or
no, no. Yeah,
defute.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying
No, no, go ahead.
there's people, like I said, Sariah, there's people that will never step into a church and they would never hear Jesus Christ and they would never, but they're going to hear you, right? And
Right.
they're going to hear other people who communicate with them. And I heard you talking about how they don't want to have accountability, but how do they have accountability to something that didn't serve them when they did go maybe
So,
to the church and the
right,
church excommunicated them, when they did go to a pastor and the pastor was like, oh well, shoot, come on over here and I got you, girl, whatever, no problem. And as a matter of fact, some of them actually laid down in the 3,000 number, 2 or 4 or 5 of them with pastor so and so, and they
right,
knew it. So
right.
they don't have that desire to be with what they saw as their oppressor. It's like almost sitting down with the master as the
Right.
slave. So help us
And
understand that because you
no,
got to unravel that because everybody doesn't uh, kind of connect to that. And I want to make sure we don't leave people with this impression that the only way is this way because it's not.
well, see,
But
but
it
see,
was your way, which is great. So talk to us about that.
so what it is I started, like I said, I started in a program. I started in a program, and I started with that. That was how I started, because once again, I didn't come out of a Christian background. That wasn't my background. I had family members that were Catholic, family members that were Jehovah's Witness, and all kinds of other religions. So I didn't come out of that background of a Christian. So when you deal with people, and yes, there's pastors that have issues, and they're doing all those things. The For me, I go to the woman who discipled me, because the church I go to, the pastors, we are very clear that no man is supposed to disciple a woman, other than a pastor, and then no woman is supposed to disciple a man. So when I first started, was I will go to my person who discipled me, and everything I did, I go through her. And then what happens is, when I moved into the area, then the person who has been discipling me and walking with me, because that's a key thing in the Christian community world, is that you are supposed to do life with each other, whether you're an asset or a liability, whether you are the Esthers or the Rahabs, you do life with each other. And so she had walked with me, and because of the years that we had been walking together with, I trust her in, okay, this is the church that I go to. Okay, this is the pastor. So then when I attended that church, it took me, I sat back and I watched that, pastor. I'm not gonna just see, I don't just go off of, I've been in the world, I've been dealing with this lifestyle for so long. I'm not gonna just jump in, oh, I love this man. And no, 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 no. I'm not saying, when you get into when you get into a community and stuff, and your church and things like that. So let me be very clear. You watch the pastor, you watch what they do, you watch, you see if they are staying consistent, you watch their conversation, you watch how they interact with women and other people in the church. And that's what I did with my pastors. I have a senior pastor and two associate pastors, and I watched their actions with the congregation. And then when I had to sit down with them, I watched how we they would talk with me, the way that they approached me, the what they would say, how they would say it. There was things that I would be like, nope, I need to have, and they would be okay if I brought in the person that discipled me. So there's certain things that you go through. There's a whole in depth of that you can get yourself to where you don't fall back.
Right. Because you
You
got now
know,
your support system is there, and now you
right?
have these other systems that you were able to connect with. Well, we only have like 7 more minutes left,
Yeah,
and I told you 58 minutes will go by, 56 minutes will go by fast.
yeah.
Tell us about any particular chapter in your book that you want to make sure people resonate with. You've answered the questions that we've actually talked about prior to coming on the air, helping the next young person or the next woman overcome or become, survivor to become a overcomer. Talk to us about your book. Where do they find the book? How do they get their hands on it? Do you have any kind of book programs that you're getting ready to do, reading
Uh,
groups or whatnot?
Yeah, so you could catch my book on Amazon or on Barnes and Nobles. I do have a website that's called Sariah.info. You can go on my website and there's a link to get my book there. There's this book, there's so much that I say in there, but what you can do, there's a chapter that's called Enough is Enough. And that's when I show when a person's done. Uh, and in that you can see how to help another woman get out, how to communicate with your daughters, your children, and knowing what's going on in their lives right now. I am working on opening up a nonprofit organization called Ashes to Beauty New England. It is to help homeless people and women and children, because I was homeless and there was so many months and weeks that I went without food, and I was a prostitute, that I didn't even have the essentials as a woman um, at times. So the organization will be able to set up to where you can get the essentials, you can have some food, and then if you want to get help and you're wanting to get off the streets and you're wanting a actual change in your life, I will help you in directing you into different organizations that will let you be able to get some help. So those are the kind of things. I am working on my next book called Life After the Game. So coming out of that lifestyle, and now what does my life look like now?
Outstanding. You mentioned this in the beginning when we first started about the game. And, you know, when you think about the indoctrination, you think about the seasoning, you think about now I have you in this lifestyle, and then setting you up all across the nation. I mean, here you are, making 5 million for someone, and you can't even have half a million for yourself. That's
No, I
unfortunate.
took care of somebody else's family. That's
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
was
yeah.
doing.
You're an industry in itself, right? Because you were the industry. You were the industry. So when you think about that, and you think about the numbers, can you go over those numbers again? You shared some numbers with me because you're doing some other things in reference to educating. What were some of the numbers that you had came up? Because I know my number for the state of DC, for the DC area.
So this is off of the human trafficking in the U.S., and I put this together because of the nonprofit organization that I'm putting together.
Putting
So
together.
it says it is a This is for sex trafficking, so not for human trafficking, just for sex trafficking in the United States. It is an estimated that about 15,000 to 50,000 women and children are forced into sex slavery in the United States every year. And the total amount varies widely as it is very difficult to research because, of course, women, they're
They don't
usually
tell.
right. Don't tell, don't get killed. That's what the
Right.
game is all
And
about.
don't tell because you will get killed. Right.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
One study from the Department of Health and Human Services estimated the number between 240,000 and 335,000 will be reported from the University of Pennsylvania.
Right.
So those numbers are wide and varied because they come from. There are women that do come into United States. I want to
Right.
make that clear, but I also want to let people know
I'm here.
this is in your
This is in
back
your
door.
backyard. This is not
Yes.
you a homegrown sister from another mister, but here in the states,
Yes.
and you
Yes.
had to deal with it. And I want to remind people that she talked about this overall trafficking, and the statistic on that is 100 to 300,000, right? And that's a huge number as well. But beginning the fact that that's sex, labor, and child really gets my attention because you started at 15.
I
The
was
young lady that
prostituting.
was talking
I was
about,
prostituting with 14-year-old girls
yeah, 14,
and
15.
14-year-old girls, and I was working with women all the way up to 45.
Here's another thought, and before you go, was it only men, or were there some women
I
that
was a
prostituted
madam.
with you? That
I
that,
was
that,
a
that
madam.
came to you. Okay.
I was a madam. I stepped to women. I used to pimp out women. I didn't did all of this.
Mm,
Being in the game for almost 20 years, you learn all the ropes of everything. So I pulled women. I would tell them, come work for me. Come, they would show, like I told you, my paycheck was like $400 or $500. Some girl would walk down the street. "Oh, I don't want to do this. Come work for me. Hey, you can make that money in today. In the
mm-hmm.
next 2 hours, you can make that
2 hours.
money.
Yeah.
So, I did that. So, yes, women pulled women, men pulled them. It did not, there's no color to this. There's no age and no color.
Wow, yeah. So you're a beautiful, beloved child of God. So happy you met Jesus and helping others to help, making people aware of a very real problem right here and now. Thank you for sharing your story.
Amen.
And so I want to say thank you again because your book is out. You got your second book on the way. I came
Yes.
across you in a forum in reference to people who have overcome certain situations. I reached out to you. You were like, "Hey, no problem. I got this date available," and now we're here. Two
Yes.
strangers that actually collided on the fact that I like to bring relevant information to people. I want them to share their passion, their purpose, and their profits, right? Because I think they
Yes.
should make money in reference to their book. I think that they should, have a way to do that. We're going to go also, remember, go to Sariah.info, right?
Yes.
Sariah.info, and you can get information about her upcoming different things. And I'm sure she's going to be expanding. And you have a
Yes.
podcast. What's the name of your podcast?
No more games.
No More Games Podcast. Is that available on Spotify and all these
Yes,
other
it
cool
is. There's
places?
actually, if you go to my website, there's links to it so that you can just click on it and you can listen to it. I think the recent one that I just put out was called "Tired of the Game."
Tired of the game. Thank you for sharing your story, Sariah. Thank you, Ms. Hastings, for sharing your story. Thank you
Amen.
guys for participating with us tonight. Thank you for giving her some people to talk to because,
Yes.
we be talking to ourselves. But I want to say thank you so much. Look forward to
Yes.
hearing more about what you're doing as you move forward when you open up
Yes.
your nonprofit or your agency or whatever it is.
Yes.
I guess you're in the New England area in
Yes.
reference to that. And so, helping people find another answer when it comes to what they're doing, but
Yes.
also you putting your passion to work in the earth, right? You have a talent,
Yes.
ability, gift, and you're putting it to work. Thank you so much. I'm going to
Yes.
say
Thank
so
you.
long to you right now.
Yes.
Hang out in the green room while I say
All right.
good night to the people who are there with me. All right, you guys. I want to say thank you so much for another opportunity to share some really cool dynamic information with you. I hope this was helpful for you. Again, everybody has these stories to tell, and I believe that if you can get your story out, out of your head, out of your heart, and into the hands of those that can consume it, you can really, really, really impact others. And no matter what you're going through, no matter what you've been through, there's somebody that could benefit from your story. So don't keep your story on the inside of you. It was Miles Monroe who said one of the richest places in the world is the graveyard, right? Because people tend to keep their stories locked inside. Don't forget this statistic that we shared. The National Congress of American Indians also shares the information about all of those numbers that she shared with you, or we shared with you tonight. 40% of the indigenous women on all these different places and spaces are missing and exploited through this trafficking, sex trafficking, labor trafficking, and child trafficking. Thank you again, everyone. You guys have a great night. Next week we have another guest coming in with some fire, and I'll share more information coming through. But I look forward to seeing you on the next page, the next post, the next YouTube video, or right here on the next live. Take care, and we'll see you when we see you. Take care.